Hey guys, how's it going? I'm One Pling Pizza, and today we're gonna be doing just kind of like a beginner Dead by Daylight tutorial. It's just gonna tell you some stuff that you should know if you're new to Dead by Daylight or interested in playing it and haven't played it much. Just helpful little tips. So for killers, what you start with is Trapper, Wraith, and Hillbilly, and Doctor if you are on Xbox. At the beginning, I would suggest Trapper or Wraith. It really depends on how you believe you'd want to play the game. As you get more advanced, you can feel free to try whatever killer you would like, but Wraith and Trapper are some good starter killers. Trapper, you can put traps down around the map. Survivors can walk into them and they'll get injured, or if you walk up while they're in the trap, you can down them and then hook them. He has some perks which allow survivors in his terror radius to receive smaller and more frequent skill checks. Then he can destroy pallets and breakable walls and gens a little bit faster with brutal strength. And the first perk that I mentioned was Unnerving Presence. I forgot to mention that. And Agitation allows you to move faster while you are carrying a survivor, allowing you to potentially get to the basement, which is a very, very good place to be with Trapper. Wraith is a very, very simple killer. He can go stealth with his Wailing Bell, which will cloak and uncloak him. And when he's cloaked, he will move a bit faster. He has no tear radius, and he is pretty much invisible, as the name would suggest, cloak. That is pretty much his power. When he is coming out of the cloak, he receives a bit of a speed boost, so if you lunge, it will kind of extend him a bit. And his personal perks are Predator, which, I'm just gonna check these out because I have a hard time remembering every single perk in the game, especially ones that I don't use. So, Bloodhound is one of his perks. I'll just start with that one because that's the first one I see. Fresh blood marks are considerably more discernible than normal, so they're just a brighter shade of red and are much more easy to see in the game, and they can be tracked for a bit longer, allowing you to chase down injured survivors quite a bit easier. Was Shadowborn, which personally I don't think is a very good perk, but some people run it. It just gives you a little bit wider FOV. If you like that, feel free to use it. I'm just not personally a huge fan of it. And his last perk is Predator. Oh, so that's what it is. Scratch marks left by survivors. When survivors are running, they will leave scratch marks behind them. They will spawn considerably, so quite a bit, closer together. So they are much, much easier to track down. Now, since Wraith is such a simple killer, and I'm assuming you can kinda get the gist of it. If you need to pause it and look at his power, just read it. It's very simple. I feel like Trapper is a better killer to show off. At least that's the one I'm going to show off right now. I might show off the Wraith in a later video. Now, for killer, the universal perks that I would recommend Fearmonger is a Demogorgon perk. I just need to find it really quickly. If you don't know, Dead by Daylight sadly lost the license to Stranger Things, and so you can no longer, like, the perks no longer belong to Nancy, Steve, and the Demogorgon. They're just kind of universal perks anyone can get. So, that's why I suggested some of them for Survivor. I couldn't find the perk I was talking about. Sorry, I'm completely drawing a blank. But Jolt is another Demogorgon perk. When you down a survivor with a basic attack, all gens within a 32-meter radius of you instantly explode and begin regressing, and they lose 8% of their progress, which is a pretty solid perk. Oh, Fear Monger. Sorry guys, I don't have the best memory. Iron Grasp is also a decent perk. If you struggle getting survivors to hooks, definitely recommend it. Oh, there it is. So, Fearmonger, when any survivor is repairing a gen, they are affected by the blindness and exhausted status effects. I explained exhausted when talking about the survivors, and blindness will cause survivors not to be able to see when survivors get hooked, and so basically they won't be able to see other survivors' auras, or any auras, in fact, and this will continue for 5 seconds after they leave the gen. Pretty much, it's just, like, it's a decent perk, but it's mostly used to stop survivors from sprint bursting off of gens. Or if you are chasing a survivor who was just repairing a gen, you have to walk to clear your exhausted effect, so they will not have their exhaustion unless they've walked a bit. And the other one is Cruel Limits from the Demogorgon. It's not super useful, but every time a generator is completed, all windows and vault locations within a 32-meter radius of the completed gen are blocked for all survivors for the next 30 seconds. So again, it's a pretty solid perk. Spies from the Shadows is a good perk for beginners. Pretty much, there are crows in the map, and when a survivor alerts a crow, it will make a noise for you, letting you know where that crow is triggered, and it has a cooldown of 5 seconds, so pretty much no cooldown. It's just when you are within 36 meters of the survivor, but that is quite often. Sloppy Butcher is another perk that I'm not a huge fan of, but it definitely could be good starting out. It just allows for your attacks to take longer to heal from, so survivors will spend less time on gens, and it will make them bleed more frequently, so they're easier to track down. And Noed is also a universal perk. It is probably the best. Pretty much once the exegates are powered, if there's any dull totem remaining on the map, this hex is applied to it, and then it exposes every survivor and makes the killer move faster. So let's get right into the Trapper match. And so I started with an extra trap. Normally you start with 2, and you have to carry traps and place them down around the map where you think people will be. I'm not gonna fight anyone right now. I'm not gonna just gonna set up my traps. Shack is always a really good place to set up traps, since it is a main loop for survivors. You're in my way. So, as you can see, I will be walking very fast with agitation, allowing me to get a little bit further and to a better hook if I would like. So the best places to place traps are normally on the end of windows. Because, and just come here, vault this window from this way. No, I meant the other way. So, if they vault the window, then they have nothing they can do because they go straight into the trap. And yeah, I'll just let them get back up. Another good place to place traps, although not as good as by windows, is on pallets. Now you won't want to place it right in the middle because they could drop the pallet and vault over it. You'd want to place it on either side, preferably like a side that you think the survivors will be running in from. Like, if I am looking at this, there's a good chance that the survivors would be coming from this way and not from this way. So I would be putting the trap here. That would be the ideal spot. I guess you can kind of get through it, but like right there. But you get the idea. Now I'm gonna break this pallet, or pallet. I meant gen, but I can break a pallet too. And I can't compare it to a normal killer breaking animation unless I decide that I'm gonna show it. So there might be one with this, I'm not sure. If there is, then that's what a normal killer break animation looks like. It's quite a bit slower, and this is with brutal strength. Would anyone like to do a chase? Okay. Actually, wait, just Jake, are you near me? Could someone repair the gen just a little bit? I just want to show off my jolt. And you can hit survivors through windows like that. Carrying you over. And so if I down... Oh. I want to show it with the gen. Get over here. Get over here. well, you can't see it because he decided he wanted to run away, but it exploded the gen. Now, the basement is the best place to be with Trapper. You most likely want to place the traps on the stairs like that. I only have one, but you could do another one like on that side. And it'll just make it so that if survivors are walking down that and they don't expect it, they will be a lot more likely to step in it. Obviously, they know about it. My girlfriend knows about it. But if they didn't, then they would be walking through this. Well, most likely. Especially if I had one on the other side. Because it might look like it stands out, but walking down this, going to get a teammate, you would not notice that. Alright, I'm gonna get a couple traps, and then we'll do a chase. And when you're full of traps, the trapper will make a noise like this. I'll give you a little bit of a head start. So this is the LT wall. As the killer, I want to try and chase them from the inside and push them around the outside to allow for easier hits. Show your red light that way. They dead-hearted. So a main trick of being killer is to flash your red light one way. Like, you can't see it on my screen, but a killer has a red light the direction they're looking, so you can flash it like around the corner, and they'll think that you're turning that way, and then you just back up like that, and just tie your red light, and boom. That's a simple but really nice mind game. You can also, if you would like to, place traps in spots like this, especially in bushes, but around corners like this. Because if survivors are hugging this loop closely, there's a good chance that they will step right in that. And a good chase tip, you generally want to try and keep the survivors in an area where they have nothing to really go to. Like, you kind of want to cut them off like that. Like, I could keep going like this, but yeah, like, they have to come at me. I messed up there, but they have to come at me. I could just keep going back and forth. They have to do something. I'm in a good spot. I could have swung for that, but I didn't. So after a while, in a chase, when you aren't getting hit, you will be getting bloodlust, which allows you to move very fast, as you can see. And I'm going to brute with my brutal strength very fast. So in chases, that can help, because survivors will not expect you to be able to break the pallet that fast, and you can catch up to them a lot faster than they will expect. One thing that you need to be careful for is your own traps. Because if you step in them, it will stun you. Like this. And if you're carrying a survivor, it will let the survivor free. No, no, no. But, again, it's trying to pick you up. Are you kidding me? Oh, there's no set up bear traps. You wait a minute. It'll let them go just like that. And the trapper, when he steps in the traps, he, like, leaves them open. But when survivors step in it, the trapper has to go reset it. When survivors are trapped in the traps, they can take chances to get themselves out of the trap, which can take a while. It could be first try. It really is random. But if a teammate helps them out of it, it is like guaranteed to get them out of it first try. And so, the end goal is to hook the survivors until they're dead. And there is a chance that... So, when you have killed all other survivors and just one remains, a thing called hatch spawns. And this is to allow the last survivor to have a chance at escaping. It is right here, so it normally gets down to you and the survivor. Now, as a killer, your goal is to close it like that and get to it before the survivor. And as a survivor, your goal is to get to it before the killer and jump through it and escape. Now, if you go to an exit gate, there's one right this way. A good strategy for playing Trapper is to trap the exit gate, which I'll show you. So you gotta line it up, you place it right in front of that. So then when they go, like obviously they can disarm the trap, but they can't open the exit. So no matter what they do, if they disarm the trap or if they try to open the exit, they will make noise and you will know. So if you're on the other side checking the other exit gate, you will know that somebody is here, no matter what. So it is definitely a good strategy as the trapper. And so survivors, their goal is to power up these exit gates, like I said when I was talking about survivors. And once they do so, they are able to escape. And that endgame timer at the top, that starts when the hatch is closed or when the doors are opened. And when it runs to the bottom, all remaining survivors in the game will be killed. And that's gonna do it for this video. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to see more beginner and how-to Dead by Daylight stuff, feel free to comment and let me know, because I kind of had fun making this, and I feel that people might need some tips and tricks in Dead by Daylight and just kind of really understand how the game works. And so I thought it would be good, and if you liked it, please let me know. I would really appreciate that. And I hope you all have a good night. Goodbye.